Hello, this video is about the slacker issue as it pertains to Generation X. It's essentially about the slacker aesthetic that was pushed in the popular culture as it is applied to my generation by a lot of different people. So let's get started. I have kind of a detailed outline about this that I'm going to share with you today, based more on life experience than anything else. There definitely was a lot of generational bias in corporations or employment bias against my generation or applied to my Generation X. I saw this in job interviews I went through during and after college and after law school. I think the term slacker largely came from films during the mid to late 1990s. You can also find some of it, maybe even films as early as the mid to late 1980s, but it was heavily in films in the late 90s. Film companies are corporations, and that economic influence or control is present in most mainstream films. That's just the system. It is what it is. Movies tend to represent in many aspects the prevailing concepts of the capitalist system because they are corporations. A lot of films in the 1990s were pro-corporation, anti-union, anti-environment, and pro-globalization. Tons of bias and propaganda spewed into the minds of my generation. Movies such as Mallrats, Reality Bites, and Office Space played into the slacker aesthetic. Another one was SFW, which was based on the suburbs of Metro Detroit. It was based on, actually, Madison Heights, Michigan, which is a northern suburb of Detroit. I really liked Office Space and SFW, but let's face it, these films can be misinterpreted by anyone or any entity like a corporation. Clueless and Clerks as films also played into the slacker aesthetic as it was applied to the nouveau riche and the working class. You can find the same types of themes in these films like Clueless and Clerks 2. The same type of things exist in all of these movies that I just mentioned. Then the companies ran with it and labeled X as a bunch of slackers in job interviews. I think this was a setup to not pay Generation X what they were worth. I can't prove it, but it reeks of a setup. You have to realize, up to that point, my generation was the highest educated. Many of us had 2 to 3 degrees. Many of us were going into the job market in the 1990s when corporate greed, due to free trade and technology, was quite common. The economy, due to trade, was changing fast. I always felt that the corporations never really wanted X or Generation X in the job market to start with. We were the smartest, knew how the world worked, and they didn't like it. I think that's the main reason why the system is trying to age discriminate X out of the workforce in their 40s. X is facing massive amounts of this, as are the boomers trying to re-enter the labor force because they can't afford to retire, which is a big problem right now. I think the corporations want to make the mandatory retirement age about 45 in this country. It's all about salaries and money and people making what they make at the top. Anytime you hear a buzzword just pop up out of nowhere, beware. There's usually an agenda behind it, or at least that's what I've experienced in life. It's really, or usually, men in dark rooms are the companies behind it. Things are made to happen. They just don't happen. There are no coincidences, just conspiracies, or things like that. They're made to happen by the rich, the influential, and the powerful. Many of them are domestic corporations. Once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration. Next week, I'm going to do another video on Generation X as it pertains to the dating scene of Generation X and why it was rough in my generation. I'm also going to do a video on NPR, PBS, and the problems with the mass media in this country. I think a lot of the criticism against NPR and PBS in a lot of ways is a wash because they are just as controlled as the regular media by money and influence, and the only real media in this country is independent media. Thanks again for your consideration. It's free to subscribe.